have an ECW original. We have one of the Dudleys. And Bay, I was saying earlier, this is actually the 10-year anniversary of when we interviewed Devon Dudley for the first time. So this is a really kind of special thing. Your brother in arms. How you doing tonight, Chubby Dudley?
I am doing great. And where the hell is all the time going? That's what I want to know.
Oh, my God. You're telling
out the
me.
Window, brother, out the window.
I was in college when you were doing your thing, man.
You're that old? I thought you were in college now.
Yeah, right. I wish.
How's so who's all there? So
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, who's all there? So it's you and Kathy and who else?
We also have Matt and Howard, our other co-hosts, are here.
What's up, Matt and Howard? I don't know those guys. Do I?
Matt went to college with me, and we would watch ECW on Saturday night.
Yes, and, I'm familiar with your work.
Yeah. He's a big ECW fan, so.
Nice.
Hey, Bay.
What's up, Kath? How the hell are you doing? Before we go any further, let me say to you, as we were talking in person, I'm very sorry to hear about your uncle.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
How's everything else otherwise?
It was a very sad thing.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
I hear you. So, all right, well, fire away. What were you saying now, Brady?
I don't remember. I asked how Nashville is. That's a huge jump. You're leaving the Philly area. You're going to a new market, right? You've been there a couple of years now.
It's actually almost 5 years, which is pretty crazy. I never in my life, like doing interviews and stuff, doing interviews for 7-8 years at that point, and you hear all these stories from these people that end up picking up and leaving and going to Hollywood or New York or wherever to pursue their next phase of life. And I'm like, that's just absolutely freaking crazy. I could never do that. And then next thing I know, I'm doing the same exact thing and going to Nashville. And it was honestly the best thing I ever did in my life. Wow.
Now, why is that?
All for love. Did it all for love.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I mean, God bless you. You know, if you found the right person in your life, then that can make all the difference. So that's
absolutely
incredible. So you've been doing this podcast the last couple weeks, and I guess it's like a video show. It seems like a really cool concept where you're interviewing your peers from ECW back in the day.
Yeah. So actually, what happened was I started this whole YouTube channel actually a year ago where I'm going through and watching the history of I'm going through ECW television match by match and doing reaction videos to it. And it's funny because a friend of mine, a person who became a friend who I interviewed from the music business, who's a big ECW fan, he like a year it was like right around Thanksgiving 2022. Okay. He sends me a text like 1:00 in the morning. Are you up? I'm like, yeah. And he calls me and he goes,
Kathy does it all the time to me. It's like, I'm trying to sleep. You know?
I do not.
I'm just kidding, Kathy.
And he's like, yo, he goes, I came home from my gig tonight and I've been laying here watching ECW on YouTube. And I thought to myself, what would it be like to hear Bay do reaction videos and tell, his thoughts on the matches, the little inner things he knows behind the scenes of what happened with these people or the match itself and all this. And I was like, holy shit, dude, you're a genius. Like this is a fabulous idea. So I started doing it, and it's a slow build, but then the shocking thing was like people and Kathy was there, so I want to hear her if she's shocked by this. People generally are like, what's the word? Infatuated, and they want to know. They're so curious about Eastern Championship Wrestling, and they're like constantly sending me messages and questions and all this. So, like, I was toying with it in my head for a year. And then about a month and a half ago, I finally said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to start interviewing the guys and getting the stories and getting their stories and their feelings. And, there's a lot of stuff that I want to know. People are asking questions. Well, hell, I want to know the answers myself. So I started a separate show on the channel called Chewing the Fat. And I just did the 5th interview the other night. So I started it with Glenn Osborne. And
Amazing guest.
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny. Somebody actually, which I looked at my screen. I'm like, what? They sent me a message and they said, that was really weird. And I said, what do you mean? They said, I never heard Glenn talk without makeup.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I love Glenn. That's
but
awesome.
then I did, I dug up somebody from the past that nobody's heard from in quite a while, Johnny Hotbody. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. So the funny thing was, when I announced Hotbody was coming on, I got a message from Todd. Todd reached out to me on Facebook, and he's like, I came across your channel, and I've been watching stuff. I love it. And I said to him, I said, so you're going to be a guest? You going to let me interview you? And he didn't answer me. And then he said some other things and asked me some other questions about stuff. And I said, so you're going to let me interview you, right? And he didn't answer. And it's so when he heard about Johnny, he said, say this to Johnny. And I did. And Johnny got a kick out of it. But Johnny has, a lot of heat with Todd and a lot of feelings about how he was treated. So he let it fly for 3 hours about his feelings about a lot of people. Sandman, he was not happy with, and Shane Douglas, and a lot of people. And this is what it's not. I think so many people just saw the extreme error, and this is another question I want to ask Kathy, because Kathy is a true ECW original, and a lot, the phase, the term came out ECW original for many years, probably 30 years now. And I personally always said to myself, well, technically they're not ECW originals. Like people like myself and Hotbody and Stetson and Osborne, those are the originals.
Tartaglia. No, I'm only kidding. We both made the same joke. Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of the true originals have, they feel a little ways about that. So, what I'm doing is I'm giving these guys who were the true ECW originals their platform to speak and be heard and talk. And I also, I interviewed Johnny. Then I interviewed Stetson for 4 hours, which...
Oh, my God. I believe it, though.
I'll tell you what, we were sitting there drinking the whole time, and he was drinking rum. By hour 2, Tony was a little drunk. By hour 3, Tony was really drunk. By the end of it, wow. He called me the next day. He goes, yo. He goes, I was shit faced. I'm like, oh, I know. I when I asked you about a person, you said you wanted to knife them in the throat. I'm like, okay.
Oh, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then I interviewed. Here's a name for you, Ernesto Benefica.
Ernesto Benefica. I don't remember that one.
Okay, so he was very early in Eastern Championship Wrestling. He was the guy that was getting squashed.
Okay.
He was
out. Oh my God! Yeah.
Remember, little skinny guy?
Yes.
He would sell like 50 to 75 tickets a show.
Yeah.
And they would throw him out there just to get his ass beat and completely squashed.
Yeah.
So I interviewed him, and just the other night I interviewed Gigolo Joe Zinoli.
Oh my
Gigolo
God.
Joe.
Yes.
He had some flowing hair, man. I was watching some of those episodes on Peacock. He's like, he was the man.
Like where it's funny because Molyneux commented on the picture we used where he was being hung by Funk, and Molyneux goes, "That's the picture you had to use." And Joe comments, he goes, "I love that picture. Look at the hair."
Babe, do you remember the night at I think it was Temple? No, it wasn't Temple. McGonigal Hall.
Temple.
Yeah.
Which
when
I was not there because that was before my even knowing about indie wrestling.
Really?
That was like 6 months to a year before I found out about TWA and everything and got involved.
Wow.
I had no idea about the Squared Circle fan club, Wrestle Radio. I didn't know none of it.
I don't know if Joe told you the story. He got quote unquote hurt, and they bring him back. Well, the ambulance crew,
yes,
they were like, "You're going to the hospital," and Lawler's like, "Yeah, you should really go, dude." And he's trying to,
that was the Civic Center.
Civic Center, that's right.
Yes.
And they're saying, he's going, "Cat, tell them, tell them, give them the heads up." And I'm like, and Lawler's like, don't do it. And I think they finally put him a collar on him and took him to the hospital.
I brought that story up to him the other night, and I said, one of the classic funny stories of Gigolo Joe, because I remember you were there for some of these, Kath. Remember the meetings at Good Heart's apartment?
Oh my God, yeah.
They were just complete rib fest, and Zanoli was always like the butt of all the jokes. They used to just break his balls. Waldo and Bruno and Stetson and Hotbody. And I remember after that happened, like they took him to the hospital. Well, naturally you're going to get a hospital bill. He got an ambulance bill. He got a hospital bill. And he was like, Joel, are you going to pay this hospital bill? And Joel wouldn't pay it. Like, so he got kind of screwed out of however much money it was. But it was like the ongoing joke. And every meeting, Joe would be like, Joel, are you going to pay for my hospital bill?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It sounds like it was an amazing time. Yeah, it sounds like it was an amazing time.
That's the one thing, too. And one thing I'm going to do with this whole, this show, not only is it about ECW, but I definitely want to acknowledge Tri-State as much as possible. And I want to give, all the guys of Tri-State and the ladies and, Kathy, and I'm going to get into Kathy in a second, but, people like her have been a very important part of the Philadelphia wrestling scene for many, many years. And people, don't realize how important they've been. And I want, these people, especially Joel, to go through, to get their acknowledgments and their praises, because especially Tri-State, I don't think people realize, because there was not TV or good video quality being done, the magic that Tri-State truly was.
Yep.
Did it surprise you? The evolution, obviously, from Tri-State, from TWA, to the early ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling. That seemed like a logical progression. But what ECW...
No, it didn't.
You didn't think so? I thought it did.
No, because... And I asked this question to everybody I've interviewed so far, because...
Okay.
Tri-State, like I just said, was magic. Tri-State was literally like Extreme Championship Wrestling before Extreme. And then when Todd took over, Todd wanted to change things. He wanted to distance himself from Tri-State. He didn't want people to think that Joel was involved. He was trying to make it more, PG and things like that. And but the product in those early, that early Eastern Championship Wrestling, and even early on TV, before, a lot of the names started coming in, before Paul really, you can tell Paul really, where his booking takes over before Eddie left. but was bad. It was really, really a bad product, and I personally hated it. And I've been on record for saying it for years. I hated the Eastern Championship Wrestling product.
That's interesting. Let me rephrase it then, because I didn't expect you to say that. So, TWA versus what ECW became, the product that caught fire in like 94, 95, 96. How did TWA stack up against that? I wasn't at those TWA shows.
You know what? You can stack it side by side. It would be parallel. It'd be right alongside it. Absolutely. When I would go to those shows, I can curse, right? I'm already cursing, but I was fucking popping like crazy from what I was witnessing. I mean, it was. I had the same feeling. Like when I was, backstage during the Extreme era, and I'm sitting around the monitor watching what's going on the other side of the curtain, and I'm popping in my head like, oh shit, like it was wrestling history, and Tri-State Wrestling was wrestling history. Eastern Championship Wrestling, nowhere near wrestling history. Extreme Championship Wrestling, complete wrestling history that's monumental, and why 30 years later people want to talk to Chubby Dudley, who had such a small part in all of this.
One of the listeners want to know who your favorite Dudley actually was.
Probably Dances with Dudley.
I was going to say that.
He was fun.
He was somebody who deserved a lot more than he got. His character was absolutely hysterical. His work-wise, at that point, after Dudley was gone, at that point, Adolfo was the best worker out of the Dudleys.
Wow, that's really interesting. Here's another one. Okay. I really like this question, actually. Who from ECW, as we knew it as fans, was the least okay, who behind the scenes was totally different, the most totally different from what we saw on TV?
Ooh. Definitely wasn't Sandman.
I've heard that.
Hey,
was more like a surfer,
I'll go right to the top. Todd Gordon.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
Because the person you saw on TV as Todd was what Todd used to be in life and in Eastern Championship Wrestling days. But when the person behind the scenes in Extreme Championship Wrestling was not the same Todd anymore.
It's interesting. That's really cool.
Otherwise, I think everybody, and Kathy was there. I mean, I think everybody else was pretty much almost the same on both sides of the guardrail.
Yeah.
Well, they do say that makes the best product, right? When people are themselves with the volume turned out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that what we get if we check out the Bay Ragni experience on YouTube? Yourself with the volume up?
What you're getting right now is what you get. You get me either watching ECW or you get me interviewing ECW people. And actually, I do have a special announcement. And I was texting with a certain person earlier that has been MIA for 30 years, and it all happened because of Kathy Fitz right there. I have to thank her. I put a little announcement out a week ago that I'm searching for 3 people that are MIA, and she sent me a message. She said, I tracked this person down. Here's his phone number. I talked to him. He wants to do an interview. So I sent him.
Kathy. That is Kathy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I sent him a text, and he answered with I've checked out your show. I want to chew the fat and set the record straight. And that is none other than Mr. Jay Sully.
Jay Sully. Oh my God. The announcer.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So if you guys tune in on, like I said, the shows are on Peacock. He was like the earliest guy. He was before Joey Styles.
He was the guy.
He was the guy.
Yeah.
That's wild. I haven't heard that name in forever.
Yeah, so people want to know, like, as I'm watching this, I mean, look, Jay wasn't the best, but I don't know nothing of what his background was, and I want to find out what his background was, how he got mixed into this crazy business, and, you know, as I'm watching this, you can see, I mean, Gilbert and Paulie are just shooting on the guy, and they're threatening his job the whole time, and you know it's legit, you know?
Yeah.
Just like Stevie Wonderful. As soon as Paul came in, he was out of the booth. Like his role got so diminished. And I'm gonna, you know, I know Stevie's on Facebook. I'm gonna track him down. I want to interview him too. But I want to go through and I want to interview all these people, and I want to interview Kathy too, and I want to talk to these people and find out, because everybody's got their own stories.
Yeah,
they have their own things they did, and each person, like when I interviewed Ernesto, like he said to me, I was a small piece of sand on the beach. I said, but you know what? You have that story, and people want to know. And it's like what I'm trying to do here is just build a time capsule of memories of ECW.
Wow. Yeah.
I have to admit, when I reached out to Jay and I sent him a text, he was like, "Yo, Fitzy, what's up?" And then, you know, and then he had sent me a message that he was sitting in an airport and was watching your stuff on YouTube, and he started busting out laughing. He goes, "Does anybody besides two of us remember any of that stuff?" And I said, "There's people that want to know that no one ever knew."
Yep.
Because everyone, like you said, Bay, everyone knew Extreme.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew Eastern Championship.
Well, the crazy thing is, Todd reached out to me twice so far, and I don't know if it was the first or second time, and I said that to him. I said, you know, I'm really shocked by the reaction that people really want to know about Eastern Championship Wrestling. And he said the same thing. He said with his book, he was pretty shocked that was the big thing that everybody asked him about, is more about that than the actual Extreme stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly was a wild time. And to see what ECW became from, like you said, a kind of a mild product with Eastern Championship Wrestling to basically a revolution. What did you think, Bay? I mean, you had a front row seat for a lot of that. What was it like as the shows really started to take off, when it became pretty clear that you guys were going to make a dent in the industry?
It was, especially like the arena shows. I mean, the way he had it set up was the arena was every 3 weeks, and then every weekend we would go around to, you know, neighboring towns throughout, you know, Pennsylvania or wherever, and then they would start going up to New York. And but those arena shows, which was their TV tapings, were, I mean, just absolute. It was chaos, pandemonium, and just absolute wrestling fucking magic. It was, I'm telling you, I would sit there at that monitor after, you know, before the Dudleys did their thing, and then after, I would go right back to the monitor and watch. And the things I was witnessing, you know, I knew. I was saying to myself, this is history. History's being made, because you're hearing on one side, you're hearing 1,500 people sardined into a cement bingo hole, hellhole. And on the other side of the curtain, I'm sitting in a locker room with Mick Foley and Steve Austin and Eddie Guerrero and Benoit, like every name that there was, and they're popping just as much as the fans are.
can I interject real quick? Because that's kind of leading up to what I was wondering. When did you realize that ECW was as special? I mean, here we are talking about it, a few decades later still. When did you realize as an organization, as a company, that you had it? You had whatever it is that ECW had it.
Before I went back as a Dudley, I already knew. When Shane threw that belt down.
That's exactly what I thought. That's what I was getting. Is when Shane threw the belt down and pretty much trashed everything, the NWA and everything prior to that.
So at that time, I was on the outs with ECW, and I was very, very bitter and angry, and I had started my own promotion at the time. And I had also become friendly with the quote-unquote enemy, Dennis Carluzzo. And me and Dennis became very, very tight. And I think that's probably part of the reason, too, they never used me in the ring. It was always just the outside stuff because they knew my relationship with Dennis. And when they did, Dennis called me that night. He was fucking livid. He was going nuts. He was screaming on the phone, "They fucked me! They fucked me! I can't fucking believe it!" He was so, and I don't blame him. I mean, they did. They what they did was, revolutionary. But it was probably one of the greatest moments in wrestling. It was something that needed to be done. It was, I mean, when I saw it, hearing Dennis was one thing, but when I actually got to watch it and see what happened, I was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's wild.
But I'll tell you, the match that when I was sitting backstage and watched, and I said, "Oh, shit just got real," was Mysterio and Juventud Guerrero.
Yes.
Their first night in the company, they blew the roof off of that place, and I mean, I have chills right now talking about that match. I remember, I think my chin is still on the floor of the arena backstage.
Matt, we watched that match a couple times. It was an amazing.
It was.
It was like
it was incredible.
Yeah,
and I mean,
like that was like, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say at the time, I think I was a senior in high school when that match happened, and up to that point in my life, I really kind of just thought the ins and outs of pro wrestling was pretty much what WWE had been showing for the last 10 years at that point. So to see something like that and to really have that kind of exposure to a style that wasn't really popular in America back then, pre-internet and everything, it was just mind-blowing to see it. And to realize it was happening like 10 miles from where we lived was incredible.
Yeah, I think that's what made it special, at least for this area, it wasn't Connecticut. It wasn't, the Carolinas. It was in our backyard.
South Philly,
yeah.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
And they were some pretty wild crowds too, Bay. I have a feeling you weren't at odds with them too much, but was there ever a point where you felt truly unsafe?
Me, no.
Because every week.
Maybe Kathy, but not like.
Yeah. Kathy was sitting with me.
That's why she was working the door. That's why she felt unsafe dealing with all them lunatics.
Oh well, wait a minute. You remember the one night? It was still Eastern Championship. Doug Gilbert was wrestling somebody. I forget who it was. I think it was from Japan. And all the fans are standing in front of the desk where I'm behind. And I remember looking over my shoulder, and here comes Doug and the guy, and I'm like, "Oh my God!"
Wait. There. I think there was numerous times. Now that you say that, like I wasn't there for that, but I kind of remember, like, the match would start in a ring and it would just go through. Like it was like taking a tour of the arena through the stands, and you would always like work your way towards the front where Kathy was working the door, and she'd be like holding down the table, like, no.
I'm standing there, and all the fans are on the other side, and I'm like, let me out. And all I remember is Doug kind of like pushing me to the side, and I'm like, I hate you so bad right now.
He's somebody I want to talk to too. I haven't reached out to him. I haven't talked to Doug in a year. I only met him once or twice at when Dennis did the Eddie Gilbert Memorial shows. But I would love to talk to Doug too.
All right, I'll get you that number.
There you go.
Kathy's good at stalking people on Facebook. She'll get it.
We got to find JT's. I was given an email I have to try, but I was given 2 phone numbers. Janetti gave me a phone number, and Mike Bruno gave me a phone number, and I sent text to both. No response. Maybe I should just try calling. I don't know.
I got to tell you, there was one that I encountered where Kathy couldn't help me, and Mr. Ooh La La had to come to bat.
Whoa.
Mr. Ooh La La, Scoot Andrews, if you remember him.
Yeah. Where the hell is he at?
Oh, he's down in Florida.
I got you that one.
I thought Mr. Ooh La La did. Well, whatever.
No, I got
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay. Kathy got me Scoot. I'm lying.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we do best here, Brady. We stretch the truth here.
Yeah, we stretch the truth. We stretch the truth.
That's generous.
We have a request. Kathy's going to love it. We have a request from a fan that wants to talk to you real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah,
depends on who the fan is.
He's a Dudley.
Oh, boy.
Rat Dudley, what's going on?
I should have known.
Yeah, you call it every week.
What's up, Chubby?
What's up, Rat Boy? How the hell you been?
I've been okay. I'm hanging in there. You know, I'm turning 60s pretty soon, you know. But I'm doing good.
You're turning 60?
Yes.
There's hope.
I thought he was already 60.
No. I'll be 60.
He's been 60 since he was 20. So.
Yeah, he's been 60 for 20 years.
Now he was a regular fixture in the Dennis Corlizo shows, wasn't he?
Yes,
Boy?
he was.
Yeah.
I thought so. Is that where you got to meet him, Bay?
That's where I got to meet the Rat Boy, yes.
Lucky you.
Are you sorry you met him? I mean, be honest. Let's be honest here. Are you sorry you met Rat Boy?
Right now.
Wait, I think I actually met him before that. Hey, Rat Boy, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you used to go to Iron Mike Sharp's school for his shows?
Yes, I did.
In Bricktown, New Jersey. That's where I met him.
Okay.
Yep.
That's wild.
Because we used to go up there when there was not shows, because Mike used to run out of his school every 2 weeks on Saturday nights. So us Philly guys like me, Richards, Derek Domino, a couple other guys, we would go take the 2-hour ride up to Bricktown, New Jersey to Mike Sharp's and get some ring time in. And that's how we ended up meeting guys like Supernova and Donnie B and Moraldo and Mr. Motion like Taris and so many guys. I mean, just about every guy that came out of his school was amazingly talented.
Very cool. Rat Boy, did you have a question?
Yes, I got a good question. Okay. I'm reaching out to all the fans. We want to know if there's going to be a Dudley reunion.
That's the question I get asked constantly, and I get approached constantly. I was approached, no lie, when did Rob Feinstein do the first ECW thing? It was like last December.
Right.
He did the ECW tribute at Icons. I was approached 5 or 6 times from different people and promoters that were trying to get us together. Didn't happen. I have been approached twice so far for this one coming up for WrestleMania. I haven't heard any more details. That's the big thing. People want to see a Dudley reunion of all the brothers. It hasn't happened in 30 plus years. I'm in touch with dances. I was just texting with Sign Guy the other night. I haven't I haven't talked to Bubba in about 15 years. I talked to Devon 5 years ago. I ran into him he was doing an appearance at Wizard World in Philly,
Okay.
and I went down to go see him, and we ended up talking for about an hour and catching up. And then he did an interview with me. He let me interview him, and I haven't talked to him since. But and then the whole cast of characters. But I haven't spoken to Dudley since '95. Spike I haven't talked to since '96.
So it's been a while for some of these guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Would that be something that you'd be
Sign
open
Guy.
to?
I'm completely open. I'm
Okay.
just waiting for somebody to pull the trigger and make it happen.
Well, Sign
Maybe
Guy's
that's
going to be
Kathy.
in Philly
Go ahead,
soon.
Kathy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's working for TNA now.
Yeah.
Sign Guy. So yeah,
Oh,
they're going to
nice.
be at the arena.
Very cool. Thanks for the question, Rat Boy. No, that's really interesting.
Got rid of
And
him.
sorry.
You got rid of him quick.
Well,
You
yeah,
have
I
to.
mean, you have to. You know, it's
Once you get a rat invasion, they just never stop.
It's like, I have to plug up the pipes. Because he'll come in the middle of the night. He'll come in through like the kitchen sink. So now I'm only playing Rat Boy, but no, it's really cool. It's really cool, and to like look back, I always felt like you were somebody who could have done. You even said it so yourself, like you could have done so much more in ECW than just being kind of a background guy. Does that ever bother you?
Now, no, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Then, drove me crazy. That's why I ended up leaving in '96 because, I was there for close to a year and a half, and every weekend I'm getting chair shotted, concussions, put through tables, and all this stuff.
Never a payoff.
Never got paid.
Oh my God.
And never truly given a shot in the ring. I think it was only one match I think I was given was in Jim Thorpe.
Was that Raven?
No, they needed an opening match. It was a Bad Crew, and they teamed me up with El Puerto Ricano, Pablo.
Okay.
And I mean, I was in the ring for maybe 2 minutes, and they had Sandman come out to cane us all. And Hack pulled me aside before we went out there. He said, "Look, I'm coming to you first. Take one shot, take the powder, and go in the back. You don't deserve to be in here because I'm going to beat the hell out of all of them."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, you wonder why people didn't want to wrestle him. Which just came out this week, by the way. I found that very fascinating.
Or you hear the stories of like when he tried to wrestle sober and it was more dangerous than when he was drunk.
Were you scared of him, Sandman?
No.
How about New Jack?
Hack and New Jack always like this. Always got along with him.
Okay. New Jack used to terrify me, and we never had a problem.
You know what? I think before I met New Jack, terrified the fucking hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because he's just a loose cannon, and you never know what can happen. But there was an incident at the Travel Lodge one night where,
when wasn't there an incident at the Travel Lodge?
Yeah. Hey, Kat, do you remember the guy? He used to like try to hang out at the Travel Lodge, and he used to call himself the Sandman. He had like blonde hair, kind of like like collar length, and he would. I can still picture the guy, kind of thinning and balding in the front. And,
yes.
He was always trouble. Well,
yes.
this fucking guy, of all rooms to bust into, he busted into New Jack's room while New Jack's in bed with a girl, with one of the rats.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I was in the room next door with people partying, and we hear all this commotion, and you hear New Jack screaming. We go out into the hallway, and New Jack, Mustafa comes out, me, and somebody else. And New Jack's hollering, "This guy came in my room! He came in my room!" Well,
Oh my god.
This is how stupid the guy was. The travel lodge was a circle. So he ran for his life.
Cylinder of sin.
The
Oh.
cylinder of sin.
Oh no!
He ran for his life. And he runs, as New Jack's telling us what happened, he runs back into us. So he runs up and New Jack grabs him and knocks him. Fucking drops the dude. The dude's like, "Oh my god." And he jumps up and he looks and runs. So now New Jack is like a lunatic. He's like going to kill this guy. Well, this asshole runs the circle again and runs back into New Jack.
Oh my god.
New Jack dropped.
It doesn't even sound real.
It was like I was in like a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
It's like Pac-Man where you go off one side and come out the other, you know?
So now the guy gets up and he's like all frazzled again, and we were like right at the door for the stairs, and he runs down the stairs. Well, New Jack in his underwear chases this fucking guy. There goes Mustafa, and there I go, and we, and we chase the guy down the steps out the front door of the travel lodge. I think since that moment, because I had New Jack's back, he always was kind to me and nice to me and respected me.
Yeah.
He was always big on respect.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. The first time I met him, he almost tasered me because he was swinging it around like the big boss man. Yeah.
Babe, do you remember the first night that Ray and Psychosis came in?
Okay.
I pick him up at the airport. I get back to, I'm coming to the travel lodge. There are 6 to 7 Philadelphia police cars out front.
Okay.
And all I remember is looking at Ray going, "They're never coming back again."
Welcome to ECW.
Well, somebody, not saying who, got a hold of some bad weed. And he was having a bad reaction.
Okay.
So they take him out in handcuffs. And I'm just sitting there going, "They're never coming back again." We go in. I'm like, "Paul, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, later." And I walked away.
Wow.
Oh,
And Ray to this day always tells that story. He's like, "Do you remember when you first met?" "Yeah, I do."
It was so. I mean, that it really was the cylinder of sin. The things that happened in that place. There was what was the band? It was I think it was Sublime.
Yes.
Who was like this huge band. They came in, they were on tour, they were playing Philly that night, and they stayed at the travel lodge.
Yeah.
The same night as ECW's there.
Oh boy.
So we're fucking partying with Sublime, and then like 2 weeks later, the freaking singer died of an overdose. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow.
Well, one night, Missy Hyatt wanted to meet who she thought was Yager from the Penguins.
Oh, when she was on her hockey kick.
It was Peter Nedved.
Okay.
She had Nedved
Big
break
mullet, though.
curfew
Yep.
to come to meet her.
Yep.
Nedved didn't speak English.
Oh my god.
Hysterical.
So the next day, we're at the Flyers Penguins game, and she's like, "Oh, hi." And I go, "Who are you waving to?" She goes, "Yager." I said, "That's not Yager. That's Nedved."
Didn't
And
she
she's
end up
like-
dating him for a minute?
And Brenda Moore.
Yes. That's right. I remember when she was with Brenda Moore too. Yeah.
Is that why
And-
Brenda Moore got traded?
No.
Probably.
He was trying to hide.
Yeah, I gotta
remember
get
when
down to
I
Raleigh real
saw
fast.
Brenda Moore after they they stopped seeing each other. I went, I am really sorry about that ride. I really am.
Wow.
Oh, she and
Missy's. I mean, I love Missy. She was
oh yeah,
when I was promoting shows. I used her on a show, and she was like started calling like every fucking day, and she had all these ideas and all these things. I'm thinking to myself, are you paying for this? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
That's awesome. Did you have a favorite Sabu story? One of the listeners wants to know. I got a couple, but I'm sure I've gone through them a million times.
funny Sabu story.
Yeah.
I was a Dudley for maybe 2 or 3 months, and like I said, I was very, very close to Carluzzo,
Mhm.
and Dennis was constantly begging me to come work for him. Fuck
Mhm.
them guys. They're treating you like shit. They're not paying you. Fuck them. Come work for me. I'll pay you. And I started like listening to Dennis, and I was like, all right, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll come work for you. And he was running the same night as an arena show. And I went and worked for Dennis. And I walk in the locker room, and Sabu's there too. And I look at him, and he looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What are you doing here?" And he just starts laughing. And he ended up working Devon Storm that night, and that was the match to put Chris on the map. It was an unbelievable blow-away match. And then the next time, me and Sabu are back at the arena, and so's Devon Storm.
Wow. That's pretty cool. See, I got a bunch here. Do you have anything with Eddie Gilbert that's worth talking about?
Eddie Gilbert, before he came in, I was a huge Gilbert mark.
Yeah.
I was working behind the scenes helping with like promotions. When there would be a show, me and Frank Cody would go and flyer the town up for Todd. So when we went to get the pick up the posters and flyers to go hit Cabrini for Todd, he's like, come to my office. Like, I tell you something. And he drops the bomb. I still remember sitting in the fucking chair staring at him as he's sitting behind his desk. And he drops the bomb on us that he hired Eddie Gilbert to be the new booker. Well, I was like, holy shit. This is going to be the greatest thing ever. And then Eddie came in. It was an absolute dick. And I don't remember. I only did the first two tapings at Cabrini. I don't remember if it was the first set of tapings or the second set, but he went nuts in the locker room and just told us all that we sucked. You're on television. You look like shit. You're no good. And if you don't shape up, you're all fired.
Wow. It's interesting.
Which, and I'm very open about this, and I say this as well. When you go back and you watch those Eastern Championship Wrestling matches, we deserve to be fired. I get why I was fired.
How would you compare Eddie's style to like Paul Heyman?
Oh God, it's polar opposites.
Totally, yeah.
Polar opposites. Like Paul came in. Paul and Eddie were best friends, and Paul actually lived with Eddie when he was married to Missy for a little bit, and Paul was never a dick to me. I've heard many stories, but he was never a dick to me. But he was just very like Eddie was like not around for booking. He was not. It was just, I don't know. Paul, it was magic, man. It was magic, and he was like, if you needed somebody to do like a halftime speech to go out and win the Super Bowl, have Paul do it, because he would give a speech before those arena shows that he had that locker room so riled up. I mean, that's why we went out there and killed each other. And that's why now, 30 years later, you see we're all like, schlepping around and can barely move and walk because we gave we gave blood, sweat, tears, and our bodies to Paul and ECW because he knew how to motivate you. And when you look at the product, it delivered.
He definitely got he got the most out. I always felt as a fan, he got the most out of those guys and girls that was possible, really.
He took talent that nobody wanted, that had talent. That was talent that, for the most part, I'll say maybe 65, 75% of that talent could not make it in WWE or F at the time, or even WCW. They would not be able to just get over with that crowd, the ring, the style, etc., etc.
The roles.
The roles. But in ECW, Paul knew how to plug and play these people with the characters, the angles, the situations, and the crowd. He knew, he was like a mad scientist and just knew how to do it. With everybody. With everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you could tell. Believe me, you could tell because those shows were damn compelling. What was it about him that you think he was able to motivate people? That because he certainly wasn't paying them, right?
I'll say it from my point of view, and I think, and I'd love to know this, but I guarantee the way I thought about things is also the way that the other talent did.
Okay.
I, first off, was not getting paid. These other guys, they were getting paid. Some were getting paid pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, like we just said, they are not in with the other federations. Where else are you going to go and get mainstream TV coverage, magazine coverage, fan support, a half decent to a decent payday, and get booked fucking properly? I mean, in my point of view, again, like I said, I was a small piece of sand on the beach. You know what it's like to be on TV every week? I was delivering pizza. Was my day job at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was delivering pizza, and I would, at sometimes on Tuesday evenings, I'm at the door with a pepperoni pizza, and people open the door, and I'm on TV.
I was going to ask you that, yeah.
And they're looking at me like, what the hell?
Right.
And it's just very weird situations. And I think that was it. Like, and then I would go to my local, magazine shop or drugstore, and I'm going through the wrestling magazines, and here I am. But here I am. Like, and then on top, I'll go even a step further. And then you go back to the cylinder of sin, and you're getting paid because all the fans, male and female, they are buying you all the drinks you want. If you're into the drugs, which I was never a drug person, they're giving you any of the drugs you want, and you're getting all the sex you want. So it was just like
Sounds awful.
I was
horrible.
Paid in other ways except for money.
Okay.
What's your favorite, if you have one? What's your favorite Terry Funk story? Your favorite memory of Terry Funk?
Terry, it's funny. Whenever I saw Terry, like every show, I still don't. He probably didn't even have a clue who I was, but he was always respectful. always nice, and just he talked like this with that voice. Well, that was
Yeah.
him. He just had that drawl, and he just talked like that. And even if he was nice and calm or screaming like a lunatic, it was, it was, we used to call him Uncle Terry. And
It's like a
yeah.
grandfather. I
Yes,
remember.
yes.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, at that time, I'm his age now, and he looked a lot fucking better than I did.
Nobody thought it at the time, though.
Right.
That's something. I did. I remember. One of the great things that I got to do as a commentator was to call the last show at the arena before it closed when they thought it was closing for good.
Okay.
It was I believe it was CZW or something like that. It might have been. I don't remember, but anyway, they did a thing with all these different ECW personalities, and Terry Funk was there.
Okay.
And Terry Funk was in the corner of that old locker room. And all the wrestlers from all these different companies that were there for the Super Show were in a line wrapped around the entire square locker room waiting to talk to Terry.
Wow.
It was amazing.
He was, but see, that's the thing too. He was always like a grandfather. He was like a grandfather to the locker room. And like I said, he probably didn't know who I was, but he always would treat me with respect. If I wanted to sit and talk to him and ask questions, he would answer. And he was like that with everybody. He
never made you feel bad. Yeah.
No, he was just a beautiful, beautiful person.
That's amazing.
He was. He's such an awesome man.
Yeah. Even Dory. Like, I met Dory, again, going back to the shows with Dennis, the Eddie shows.
Yeah.
Dory would be on them. Dory was also very nice as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's an element of sadness, I'm sure, but to think about some of these guys that aren't here anymore and, like, you're never going to have the opportunity to chew the fat with them. Does that bother you?
Fucking kills me.
Yeah.
Kills me. And actually, like, when I was doing my interview with Zanoli the other night,
mm-hmm.
and honestly, I can cry right now. Somebody who I looked up to before I got into business as a teenager and ended up becoming friends with, thanks to Goodheart, was Buddy Landell.
Oh, wow.
Buddy. I love Buddy.
Love Buddy.
And yeah, and
Tartaglia used to bring him in. I had so much fun with him. He was amazing.
I fucking love Buddy. I miss that guy so much. We became friends in 91.
Okay.
And from day one, it was like he just clinged to me and we just hit it off, and he gave me his phone number and we just became instant friends. And after Tri-State closed, and he hooked up with Smoky Mountain, and he worked, it was called the Super Bowl of Wrestling in Knoxville against Michaels in the main event. I went there just to see him, and I walked over by the curtain, and he looked out, and then he saw me, and his mouth dropped, and he came out, and he gave me a big hug. And when I was promoting shows, I brought him in. I wanted to kill him. I should have killed him for the hell he put me through in 3 days. But we always remained close and in contact. And
that's nice.
He yeah. You
all right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you.
No, I truly miss him.
He was an amazing guy.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
Kind of along the same lines, but not quite. Is there like that golden goose that you're seeking for this podcast or for this video presentation? This person who you might not expect to get, but it's like, this is really like a big part of the reason why you're doing it. Is there anybody in particular?
Like right now, I'm just so focused on Eastern
Okay.
And Jay Sully was definitely one.
That's cool.
Another one is Tigra.
Tigra. Wow.
Tigra. Wow.
She
Oh,
was
wow.
she was with what's his name?
Rebel.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I
Wow.
think I know the situation.
Yeah.
But I want to hear. I want to know. I want to know. And other people
Wow.
want to know, where did she go?
I'm sure. Yeah.
She was, and Kathy, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure she was a stripper,
Yeah.
and I think we were doing like promotions at the bar she was working at, or maybe through Lori. That's how we got her, and they put her in a manager role, and she was a natural. She could have done something, but I'm pretty sure somebody screwed it up, and she left.
Wow. That would be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
So if people and we're starting to run short on time, Bay, but if people want to check out, this stuff, and obviously you've got a whole lot going on online, like where can they go?
All right. So on YouTube, it's Chubby Dudley Official, and also on Facebook. My Facebook page is blowing up now too. Like,
Yeah.
it's I honestly, I'm having so much fun doing all this, taking this little walk down memory lane, and it was an important part of my life as well as everybody else's, and so many great memories, and a big part of that whole ECW thing. And I got to say this, yeah, ECW was amazing and history and stupendous and spectacular and just absolutely mind blowing because of Paul, the locker room, the workers, and everybody working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But none of that would have happened without the other people on the other side of that guardrail. They were just as important as us. And there was a bond and family. I mean, on those arena shows, I mean, they're out there tailgating all day long like it's an Eagles game.
Yeah.
And the guys are out there tailgating, and then North carried on to the Cylinder of Sin. But those fans are just as important in the memory of ECW, and they should. I'm going to say this right now. I'm on a mission. I want 2 banners in that fucking arena. I want a banner. I want a 4-way banner because these 4 guys deserve. All right, maybe 5. 5. I'm going to say 5, and they could put them all in one. These 5 guys deserve to be recognized as the true originators in Philadelphia hardcore wrestling. Johnny Hotbody, Tony Stetson, Larry Winters, DC Drake, and fucking Joel Goodhart. Their names deserve to be risen in that fucking arena. Even though they didn't really do anything in that arena, they deserve to be recognized. And also, too, they need to raise one and just put the fans. Because without you guys, none of this happened.
It did make it really special, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. You gave me goose pimples.
Dude, I have people.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny because there was somebody told me they were like 11, 12 years old, and they would tell their parents they were going to a friend's house, and they were taking the fucking train from Jersey over the bridge and going to the arena.
Right.
And then they said the fans realized what was going on, and they like took this kid in. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's magic. Magic.
That is
Babe,
amazing.
there are people in New Jersey, South Jersey politics
Right.
that used to come to ECW Arena as young kids.
See?
Because the one guy saw me one day and he went, "I know you." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Do you used to work ECW Arena?" I went, "Oh, dear God in heaven." Yeah.
Busted.
Yeah, really.
That's funny.
And just to give you an idea of how far it stretched, I mean, I live down in Galloway now, and I belong to a cigar lounge at Summers Point. A lot of the guys that are a little younger than me, that were like Brady college age when they went there, talked about driving from, Northfield, Linwood, Ocean City, Summers Point, all the way to Philadelphia, which is about a 45-minute hour ride, just to catch the show and then come back. So it didn't just reach the immediate Philadelphia area, but it stretched far beyond Philadelphia with your reach and what was going on there.
I mean, a lot of people were driving down from New York.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Mike Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went to LaSalle at the time. So did Matt.
Okay.
He had to go. They used to run a bus trip for every Saturday when you guys had a show.
Wow.
Like there was a bus trip full of, and it was full. You had to register ahead of time or you weren't going. That's how big it was. Yeah. It was an amazing time.
I don't think the magic that happened in those years will ever be duplicated. So many have tried, and they keep trying. They'll never, ever duplicate that magic.
And I'll take you one step further. A lot of people will say you can't duplicate it because you can't get away with the kind of stuff you guys were doing. I think it's so much more than that. I don't really think it has to do with mature content. I think it's more going all out. Yeah. I think that the booking was top notch. I think the talent was 100% invested. The fans bought in. The entire thing was it was like lightning in a bottle for me as a fan.
That's exactly what it was. It truly was. It was, it was one of them right place, right time moments, that lasted for, a good 7-8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it changed the industry as we know it. So,
it's funny because, again, it's 30 years later and people are more interested in talking still about ECW than what's going on in the current world of wrestling.
It's true. It's true. I remember because through VOC Nation, like we used to be really close with like Joey Styles, for example, who was in the office for a while with WWE. And he would remark that Vince McMahon couldn't believe in the early days of like the WWE network or like when they released that ECW DVD and stuff, he couldn't believe that content based on ECW was blowing out of the water the stuff that he did. He couldn't believe it.
It was probably killing him.
I'm sure it was. That's why he destroyed it. That's why he destroyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I guess the zombie's not going to be on your show coming up, I'm guessing.
Well, I put out a new episode of React and Chill with Chubby Dudley earlier this evening.
Yeah.
And I'm only on episode 19 in Eastern Championship Wrestling history, so I have a long way to go.
You got a while to go, yeah.
Yeah, it could take a few years. So.
And you might lose interest before you get to that TNN stuff or whatever. So we'll see.
I don't think so. My interest is really peaked anymore, and it's it's thanks to people like you guys and everybody chiming in. Like all of a sudden, like I'm having a lot of fun, and I really have not watched wrestling in 20 years. I fucking watched Royal Rumble a couple weeks ago. It's like, what?
God bless you.
Yeah.
And to your point, I mean, I have the Peacock, and it's very rare that I watch really anything that is truly WWF related other than maybe it's the old Madison Square Garden or the older stuff. I find myself watching ECW, the territories, the AWA, because that's what I know. That's what I grew up watching. Right. And it brings back a lot of memories, just like ECW does. I remember fondly, like we talked earlier, Shane Douglas throwing the belt down and the birth of ECW and watching it on, the Sports Network or whatever it was out of Philadelphia, Channel 27 on cable, and watching that. It was on at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It didn't even have a good time slot, but people were watching it.
Tuesdays at 5 or 6. Yeah, I think it was 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And who watches wrestling on a Tuesday night back then? Nobody, but people were watching it, and they were tuning in each and every week.
Yeah, they were.
You know, I can remember, Bay. I had this friend that grew up around the corner from me, and we loved wrestling. We would get together from like primetime wrestling days. Every Monday night we'd get together and we'd hang out, and it carried through Raw and everything. But I'd never forget when he told me, or he asked me if I happened to catch ECW, if I knew what it was. He's like, they got this other program, and it's on in the middle of the night, and it's amazing because it's real. They really hit each other with chairs. You can tell that they're really pissed off at each other. Those feuds are real. I don't think they're booking it. I think, Bay, that these guys are just going out there and just beating the shit out of each other because they hate each other. That was the perception of us as 12-year-old, 13-year-old boys, whatever we were.
Well, here's the evolution, and this is the way I've been realizing this even myself lately.
Yeah.
You know, I broke into the business and I started my training September of 1990. And as I'm training with Larry Winters and then they were stiff, but mainly Larry Winters. It was
Larry
always
was your trainer?
He was my initial trainer.
He's an amazing guy, yeah.
But Larry was always like, work smooth, work light, you know, just make it look good. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then he broke his leg and my trainers became Hot Body and Stetson. And you know,
and you got the shit beat out of you.
They beat the shit out of us. But
especially Stetson, I'm sure.
Yeah. Stetson, they would put us in a corner. They'd be like, oh, it's Wednesday. It's chop class. And you would have to stay in the corner for 2 hours while everybody just took turns for 2 hours chopping you to see if you could take it. They tried to break you. But we would, so, you know, when I debuted in 92, 93, 94, I'm out on the indies, you know, you're working smooth.
Yeah.
Well, now, boom. Now it's extreme. And ECW's happening. And you went from working smooth to you're talking your match over with people. And I would have to say to people, fucking hit me. Don't worry about it. You're not going to hurt me. Just hit me. I don't care. Make it look good. If it looks like shit and I get booed, I'm going to fucking hit you. So hit me. You know, that's what it turned into. You had to work very stiff and very tight and lay it in, especially in Philadelphia. And it's something I've said too for 30 plus years. If you can work in Philly and get over in Philly, you can work anywhere.
Work anywhere. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that a million times. I'm sure it's true.
Philly's the toughest crowd.
Wow. You know, I was reminded you were talking about Tony Stetson. Were you around? They brought back the TWA, and were you there for the birthday cake incident with Tony Stetson?
I'm pretty sure I was.
So it was like they did this whole thing where they had this guy that was like training to be a wrestler, and he wasn't very good, and he was very green, and they were going to do this thing. Basically, they had a birthday cake in the ring. I don't remember exactly what happened, but Tony was going to come out and smash it in this guy's face.
He was talking about this on our interview. Go ahead.
He still talks about it, you know. It's so he hits the kid in the face with the cake, and they go backstage, and the kid comes up to him and says, "Tony, you know, I respect the hell out of you, but you were a little stiff on the cake.
Yes.
Stiff on the cake."
Yeah.
He didn't last very long.
No. How the fuck do you get stiff on a cake?
I guess he really put it in there. I don't know.
God forbid if it was a chair.
Finnegan flipped his shit when he said that. As you can imagine.
Oh my Lord. I'm telling you. The funnier thing is, like, you would think of the two, Hot Body would be the one that would be the and Hot Body was a loose fuse. So, you know.
Right.
But Tony would beat the hell out of you and not think twice about it.
And knowing now, like, what I know about Tony, like, when I first met him, he told me I shook his hand too tight. He's like, you got to go. And I know he was messing with me, but I didn't know it then. I thought, wow, this guy's really I must have a really tight handshake or something. He's hilarious. He's an amazing guy.
I love him. All these guys. I love these guys so much, man. We have such a great history and friendship, and I'm so glad they're still here, and we're all still here.
Well, you guys were my heroes, and some of the stuff that you did, the TWA stuff, even the Eastern Championship, the whole thing, just was an amazing period for me as a fan, and it's something that I'll never forget. So thank you for that.
Hey, thank you. Seriously.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. So, babe, before we let you go, could I ask a huge favor of you?
Of course.
I don't think you're gonna say no. Could you record a bumper for us to play on the beginning of the show?
Of course.
Okay. So the name of the show is In the Room. Just tell people who you are, remind them that they're listening, and we got to get out of here soon. Believe it or not, this flew by, man.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 hours already.
I know.
Hey, everybody, what's up? This is the original ECW original, Bay Ragni, a.k.a. Chubby Dudley, or even Easy Rider. And you know where you are? You're listening to In the Room.
Wow, we have to do a whole other show on Easy Rider. I forgot about that. No, that's amazing, guy. And you can tell that you've got experience doing this stuff, too. You got, like, the professional radio voice there.
That's the thing. I know how to do your part and do the interview, and I also know how to do my part and give the be the guest.
Well, you were so easy, I felt like you interviewed yourself tonight, so thank you for that as well.
Thank you for the platform and allowing me to have some fun.
Thank you, Bay.
Thank you.
You're welcome back anytime, man. Love you very much.
Love you guys.
You're amazing.
Hey, I'll be in touch. Kath, be in touch. Find some more people for me. Who else can we dig up?
I thought you wanted to interview me.
Believe me, you're going to get interviewed. Trust me. Trust me.
Be good stuff. Looking forward to it, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot, man.
See ya.